My name is Crystal Massey, and today I'm going to be presenting to you my thematic unit on reading with Dr. Seuss for kindergarten and first grade students. Now, for this, I have addressed 4 different areas, and that's for the ESL learners, 504, dyslexia, and gifted and talented. Okay, and what we would do first is we would have all the children in a group setting, a whole group, and we would go over some background knowledge. I would first, before begin reading the book, discuss about sight words to make sure they understand all the sight words like play, away, fish, dish, if they understood what rules meant. And for the English language students, I would even have a visual of their native language, the Spanish, gato for cat, sombrero for hat, madre for mother, and so forth. And we would have that visual there. Also, I might have one of their aides in the room, unless it was they did their English, half a day, and then they came in. But we would have to kind of go over, especially with English language learners, their words so that they would have the understanding. Also, I believe visual is very important for them. So for this lesson, we would also do a lot of visual using technology, the computer, that we would also use for dyslexia students as well, and possibly the 504 depending on what their needs were. Okay, what we would be reading was going to be The Cat in the Hat. And so the first lesson, we would go over the sight words, and then we were going to read the story. Now, to read the story, I would do model the reading myself first, and then I would have the students to get in groups to read. For instance, the ESL, they would read with the help of an aide or a partner in their own language, and the English language, they would have some correspondence there. And then the 504, they were going to do some reading in a small group and by individual. Now, if a student was deaf, or if they were blind, of course, we'd have to use some kind of aids there, braille or what have you. And they might even have to help use the computer, or even we would record the story for them to hear, which is actually what I was going to do for dyslexia students. They're going to hear the story by listening to audio and watching it on the computer. And it just depends, but they each were going to have their own provisions. Now, the GT, they should be able to read the story by themselves, and then they could also, when we go to the retelling, probably be able to tell it maybe by the cat's point of view. And they would also be helpful in helping other students because they would probably get bored a little fast. Okay, so the first lesson is, of course, going to be the story, and so we're going to read it. We're going to kind of go over, the weather, rainy weather, because that's what the story is about, and about how the kids, what happened. And we're going to draw characters from the story. So the first lesson, we would read the story, The Cat in the Hat. Then they're going to draw the characters from the story, like the brother and Sally. And then they're going to read The Cat in the Hat 2 different times so that they can make sure that they get the story. Okay. Then, our next lesson is going to reread the story again and retell it to the teacher. Now, this would be as a group for everybody, and then possibly individual. And then we would have the students, even if we have the aide to help and talk to the students about that. Okay, then we would do sequencing, and we would put the sentences in order, what happened first, next, and last. And what they would do is they would have these cat in the hat hats, and they would put them in order. Now, I have color-coded them for the dyslexic students so they can see, and they can kind of have a visual, and I've also color-coded them. And so this might help for them to do this. And so basically they just put them in order. Now, there will always be some help for all the students. If they have a question, I will be there to help them. And before every lesson, they will have a model of what it should be like, because I would do that. Then the third lesson is going to be, what hat are you? And they'll look at the different pictures of hats from various cultures, and they will talk about what hat they are from their own culture. So we would ask some of the Hispanic children, and what is your hat, or what are you familiar with? And they might say sombrero, they might say something else. We would talk to each of the kids, if there was an Oriental person, what kind of hat. And we would talk about the various hats that they are and what they wear. Then, after that, we would talk about writing rules. And now the dyslexic and the other one, the 504, they may need help in their writing, so they could do this on the computer. And then even the English language learners, they may need a little help as well. So we will have help for them, but if they will at least try, that's kind of what we're getting at. The list of rules, and I would put an example, do not lie, clean your room, brush your teeth, take a bath. And I would kind of give them some examples, and these are things that they would be doing at their own house, and this is what they would make the rules of. Okay, now the last lesson, or lesson 4, will be rhyming words and sight words, and these are words that we had on the front, like rain, shine, mother, brother, and they would look at these, and then we were going to write a poem using the sight words, and I would put an example, the cat liked to play when mother was away, stuff like this. Now for the English language learners, they would need additional help, and we would be able to accommodate that. They could also use the computer as well as the 504 students, because, and those again, it depends on what their individual need is. There may be someone with a physical disability that can, read just fine, but they may need help with writing. So the computer might be better for them. So it depends, again, on the individual need. Or it could be that they have a serious medical problem, and they just have to be watched, but they can still write. So again, it depends on the student. They're not all going to be the same, and even all the disabilities are not all the same. And we'll just have to improvise where we need to. Okay. So this is my thematic unit, and I'd also use the cat in the hat just so that they would have some visual of what it would be. They would also get to collect pictures of hats around the room or in magazines like I did, and do that, and that would be really good for them. And if they needed help cutting the papers out, then we would have to assist them there as well. And basically, what it is the gifted and talented students, they are able to do more in-depth things, and they could, really help with the other students that needed help. And then students that are having a little bit of trouble, they may need individualized help by the teacher, an aide, and they're going to need that kind of help. And then the dyslexic, they may need help of technology to help them, and the 504 as well. Again, it depends on their need. So, but this is what we would do, and basically it would take us, some weeks to go over the cat in the hat, and they would get to read this. Now again, this is for kindergarten and first grade, so it's not going to be real explicit. It's going to be pretty, simple, but we will do what we can. And I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much.